Hello and welcome to Indie Designer Journal, episode 20. Thank you very much for stopping by. Today we're going to be having a discussion about a very hot topic, and that is the use of AI illustrations and artwork in our hobby, that being board games and tabletop role-playing games. We're seeing it more and more. You can't really go anywhere on social media without this topic being all over the place. It's been talked about now for months. And I sort of been not keeping my mouth quiet about it. I've just been sort of thinking about it and trying to articulate how I actually feel, because there's a lot of different opinions and sides to the issue. First off, the idea that I'm making a video right now about an artificial intelligence that's creating artwork that is that's threatening actual artists to take away their livelihood, or to at least put a dent in it, seems like a George Orwell novel to me. It seems like I'm watching Terminator or something. I'm 45 years old, and I remember, playing the Atari 2600 and thinking that was mind-blowing, and playing when the NES came out when I was, however old I was, 10 years old, and just being like, my mind was blown or shattered. I remember my neighbor having a telephone that didn't have a cord on it. And I was like, what? You can take the phone outside as long as you don't get more than like 30 or 40 feet away from the receiver, and you can have a conversation without a cord. So it just seems really odd that we're even having this discussion, but AI's here. It's not going anywhere. Sites like Midjourney are only going to get better and better. And it's kind of scary. I understand why there's this fear, because like I said, it's not going anywhere. So let's talk about some of the things and some of the opinions out there about it, and some of the facts that we know. First of all, Kickstarter recently, I think last week, came out saying that they support human created art. I'll put the link for that article in the description below. It's an interesting read. They don't specifically 100% say what they're going to do, but they do say that Kickstarter was created to help creators get their products made. So AI, something created by AI, somewhat flies in the face of that, because in my opinion, this is where my opinion kind of seeps in here, entering prompts into a computer and having it create something for you is not artwork. Is not art. It's just not art to me. Now, there's a lot of ways this can be looked at. Some people will argue that you go back in time, the creative process has been made easier and easier for artists throughout the centuries based on technologies. Different pigments were found for paints that allowed us to finally paint in blue, and different paint brushes were designed, and all different other techniques that helped. The invention of the engine allowed for things, the printing press. All these things made it easier for creative people to do their job. Now, more recently, in the last, since I was a kid, art programs on computers have gotten better and better. I remember there's being sort of a debate back maybe 15, 20 years ago, when people really started using a lot of Photoshop, and people were arguing that that's not art, and it eventually sort of was accepted. Personally, I still paint on canvas. I still do pen and ink on paper, but I do the majority of my artwork on my tablet digitally. It's easier for me. I can produce more. It allows me to have access to tons of brushes and pens and things that would just be extremely costly for me to have in the physical form. So I understand and see that argument, where you could say this is just the next step or progression in technology. Now, the issue that is being brought out is, where are these images coming from? And this is really sort of, to me, the dagger in the back to the argument that AI artwork is okay. If the program you're using uses artwork that's someone else created to create its own art, and is not giving credit to that artist, or paying that artist, then to me that's almost a crime. It's terrible, and I don't know exactly all the details on it. I didn't research this entirely, so I don't know. Someone can write in the comments below which exact programs are doing this. I'm pretty sure Midjourney is one of them that is drawing from copyrighted material to create their images. So that's a real problem. So if that's happening, then I'm 100% against that. 100% against that. Now, let's talk about where I feel that AI created artwork can be useful, can be used. In fact, I actually opened up a Midjourney account myself. I messed around with it. I didn't pay for anything. I just did like the free trial, whatever it is. And I pretty much hated it because in the free trial anyways, you're like in a Discord page, and I felt like I was on Instant Messenger from the late 90s, and I had to like scroll through tons of other people's creations to find where mine posted, and it was a nightmare. And I understand that if you pay for it, you don't have to go through that, but it was fun. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun putting in some prompts and seeing what a computer comes up with. I think most humans find that to be interesting. Interesting in the sense that it's so weird and bizarre, and especially in our field where we're creative people, it's almost science fiction like. And it kind of brought me back to a DS game, a Nintendo DS game that I bought for my daughter, I don't know, 12 years ago, a long time ago, called Scribblenauts. And it gave me that same strange sensation, because in Scribblenauts you put in a word, a prompt, a noun, whatever it might be, and that object would fall from the sky and land on the screen, and you could just put anything, chickens, a barbarian, and a dragon, and then they all sort of had, some of them are passive, some are aggressive creatures or whatever, and then you just sort of see what the computer does. And I spent hours, my daughter barely played it, I was the one that played the crap out of that, because it was interesting to me, like what happens if I just drop a bunch of these into some of these, and what's going to happen, and just watching how the computer runs its simulation. So there's that draw. So where can that be utilized in a way that is helpful but doesn't hurt artists or creators like myself and thousands of others out there who are worried right now? Maybe using it to come up with an art direction for your project. You can type in some prompts, come up with an image. You can show that then to an illustrator or artist and say, hey, this is sort of the route I'm feeling I want to go. I used AI to come up with this. Can you do something similar to this in your own style? But this is sort of how I feel the game should be. And I think it's an awesome tool for that. Personally, for myself, I think it's interesting to put in a few prompts and see what comes up, and maybe gives you, it's like I did Inktober for a few years, and they just give you one word and you draw a picture. It's sort of in that vein to me, where you could have it pop up an image, say I type in mushrooms, magical mushrooms in the forest, and magical mushrooms in the forest, they give me some image, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of maybe doing it that way. Maybe I'll paint that. So I think it could be used as a prompt. I think that's a good way for it, and for prototypes possibly. If you're making a prototype for yourself, or to bring to a protospiel or to some sort of event where you're going to be playing it with other people, you want it to look kind of nice. I think that's not wrong. Where it becomes wrong is, one, if it's like we mentioned, or like I mentioned earlier, if it's utilizing copyrighted material. So if you're using a program that's utilizing copyrighted material, and then you're trying to use that material for financial gain, that's a real problem. Now, like I said, if using it for a prompt, that's fine, because I use all sorts of things for prompts. I have books on landscapes of Ireland and Germany and Romania, and I have these books that I go through, physical books, actually, if you can believe that, and I use those to do some of my landscape painting. So I look at them and you study them. So I see no problem utilizing other people's art, whether it's copyrighted or not, to help you come up with some sort of new thing. That's how art's been since it started. We're always building upon what was before us. But if you're creating something and trying to claim it as your own, that's the other one, is if you're using AI and you're trying to sell it as your own, that's obviously, to me, fraudulent. So that's sort of where I stand on the topic. I think you get a general idea how I feel about it. I think that it has a place. It's not going anywhere. It can be utilized in ways that will not hurt the community or hurt artists who are, eager to make an income. But I think if you're going to use AI, say you're just like, I'm going to use it, you need to be upfront about it. Just like the other side of the argument is saying there's all sorts of icons. There's tons of them now that I've seen, at least 3 or 4. I guess that's not really tons, but where there's little logos you can put on your art or your box or your book or whatever, saying that this item was created by humans and no artificial intelligence was used. And I think that's a cool idea. I think it has its place. I don't know necessarily if I would utilize that, but I think that shows people or consumers, hey, we're taking this stand. I feel like people who are on the other side of the fence better have the balls to do the same thing and be able to proudly claim that their product uses AI. And if someone still wants to buy your product afterwards, then that's fine, but at least you were upfront and bold and saying, hey, you know what? I'm not good at art, because we know lots of people that just really can't grasp it. But I can design games, so I'm going to use artificial intelligence to cut out having to pay an illustrator. If you wanted to go that route, make sure you tell people that, right? Personally, I don't know if I would ever buy a product that used AI artwork in that way. What else did I want to say about this? Oh, yes. So art in general, really quickly. To me, this is not art. Putting in prompts is not art. Art, like I said moments ago, some people really have a difficult time grasping the concepts or the skill of art. And there's some people who are just naturally better at it than others, just like anything else in life. But I will say this, that art is a skill that can be learned. Now, you might not have all the tools in your bag right away, but I think that with enough training, any person can become a good artist. Now, some people have raw talent and the creative mind that can come up with sort of just creative things in their heads that they want to make. And those people, if they train themselves and gain those skills, can become great artists, the best artists, right? But I still feel like anyone can become a pretty damn good artist. Now, why is that? Because they put in time and effort. Any skill can be trained. You want to learn how to work on cars, you can work on your own cars. You read manuals, watch YouTube videos, whatever, you can learn that skill. Art is a skill that can be learned, and anyone who has a notion that it can't be learned, it doesn't know anything about art. You can learn how to produce replicas of things and draw things from your imagination, and you can get pretty good at it with practice, and that's where my point comes in. AI doesn't do that. AI just creates something by mashing bunches of things together. A true artist, or the really good artists out there, have spent years and sometimes decades honing their skill to become what they are. And now there's some machine that's able to create something that looks pretty damn good, but doesn't have that heart that's involved in that creative process. Because when you create something, it's a process of almost like meditation. It's self-expression. It's like you're going on a journey, and that's that outlet of creativity is what separates, to me, humans from the rest of creations. So I want to get off my soapbox right now, and I am interested in hearing your thoughts on this topic. I know there'll probably be quite a bit of comments on this, and I hope I covered all the ground I wanted to cover in this video without going too long. So please leave your comments below where you stand on this and where you think AI art is going to be in 20 years from now. Are we just going to learn to accept it? Is it going to take over? What do you feel about it? And if you like these videos, if you want to see more of my thoughts and opinions on things like this, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.